I'm Jesse Trujillo. I'm a radio broadcast engineer for Altitude Sports Radio. Basically, I've worked for every NBA, NHL team. I do the Broncos home and road games. I do CSU football. I do Colorado Rapids. And then here and there, I'll do some like ESPN games, national games. Just anything where, like I've been doing it a while, my name's been put out there, so people know to reach out to me when they come to Denver. But my main role is basically I make sure that the visiting radio broadcast runs smooth. So when a visiting team comes to town, like today, the Dallas Stars are here, I make sure that their broadcast is set up and proper to go and for their signal to go out to Dallas and make sure that it sounds good before it hits the airwaves.
5-on-5 hockey, 1-for-1 on the kill. Dallas is 4-for-4 so far on this 4-game trip.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm adjusting it just to his ears. So it's not going over the air. So it's nothing that you can hear different. It's in his own headset that's going to sound different to him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can hear myself clear. I can jump on that and basically plug it in and see if I can hear him on that, but I'm just making sure my levels are good here. What interested me in radio or broadcasting was at a young age, I always wondered how things worked. I was working a job where I just would listen to the radio and drive around all day, and I heard a commercial for broadcasting school, and I decided to go there, and from there I always liked the behind the scenes stuff as opposed to being on camera, and that's where I've been ever since. And as I got into radio, I knew there was a screen that has hot buttons, and they would hit those hotkeys that get saved from movies or sports clips and stuff like that. So over time, I always like to know how stuff works, and I figured out how it works, and that's what interested me.
Face-off won by Dallas. They'll get it into the far corner. McKinnon pries it ahead for Arturi Lehkonen. Now it's
a typical day for a 7 o'clock game is probably 4 p.m. to probably 10 to 11 o'clock p.m. I tried to be there 3 hours before the game starts. Okay, so now that we got... I generally like to get there, get set up, and be connected with whoever's radio station I'm working with 90 minutes ahead of the game. And do all that typically before your talent even gets in the booth.
Found the Chushkin, holding, shooting, he scores!
My name's Connor McGahee, and I'm the play-by-play voice of the Colorado Avalanche and Altitude Sports Radio, and the public address announcer for the Denver Broncos.
Once your talent gets in the booth, see if they need anything from you on their end. Grab lunch or dinner, come back up, do the broadcast, and then typically there's a 20 to 30 minute post-game show, and then it's a teardown of another 45 minutes. So
the broadcast doesn't happen without a guy like Jesse Trujillo. And there are hundreds of radio engineers for sports in the United States, but there's some really, really good ones. Attention to detail, equipment, knowing the game.
Do they want more effects? Do they like waters brought to them? Do they like to hear the radio station more than they like to hear the other talent? Do they like to sit to my right? Do they like to sit to my left? And it's just different skills after working with different people all the time, just remembering every person's needs and wants.
Knowing who you're working with, and that's what makes Jesse the best. I try and be as low maintenance as possible. Doesn't always work, right, Jess? But it's one of those things where he knows the needs of the product.
The difference between a pre-fade and a post-fade mix for me, running a game, live game broadcast, if I have it in a post mix, I'm only having to mess with one mix, faders, that goes. So if I pot up a PA for a goal call, it's going to fade up in the talent's ears as well. Where if I had it as a pre-fade mix, whatever's coming through at that time, they're going to hear that no matter what. So it's just a matter of knowing hey, is this post-fade or pre-fade is going to make a difference in what's going over the air or what's going in your talent's ears or anything like that, and it can make your mix sound better and make it much easier in the long run.
I've known Jesse Trujillo it's longer than that, at least since 2016. So I would say 10 years, and he's been a huge part of my broadcast journey. We've worked in several venues around the continent together in multiple sports, and he was a part of one of my favorite sports memories. He was there when the Avalanche lifted the Stanley Cup in June of 2022.
Doing the radio broadcasts for both Stanley Cup championship in Tampa Bay, and then the year following when the Nuggets beat the Heat here in Denver to win their first championship. So being able to be on those radio broadcasts and then being in the locker room celebrating with the teams, it was something I'll never forget.
Jesse was right there, and I'll never forget, I'm doing the call for the cup, and Jesse reaches over and pats me on the back, sort of celebratory. And then we go onto the ice, and we're shooting interviews. We did one with Eric Johnson that we posted, Josh Manson, we talked to Gabe Landeskog. And then afterwards, we were walking back behind in the locker room, and they had all gone back in with the cup, and one of the training staff came out to see us. They said, "What are you guys doing? Come on in here." And so we together got to go into the locker room in Tampa and celebrate the Stanley Cup win together.
Plans for the future would be to continue doing more of the radio broadcasts with different teams, but kind of grow that broadcast, maybe like instead of having a post-game interview down at the locker room that's wired, maybe set it up to where it's wireless. It takes less to set up, sounds better. Maybe just, continue working with the teams that I have and making their broadcasts sound different.
Nobody works harder in sports than Jesse Trujillo, and that's not even hyperbole.